Hey, I am so excited. We're finally here, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, and I'm glad that you're joining in this Bible study. You know what I believe about this Bible study? I believe that these 12 weeks, 12 chapters, 12 weeks, I believe that these 12 weeks are going to go faster than you think in a blink of an eye. But I also believe that when we get to the end, that you're going to look back and you're going to realize that this has been something special and that you've really learned a lot and God has really spoken to your heart. So that's what makes me excited. Okay, well, let's jump right in. Let me ask you this question now. Did you download your study guide? These are available each week so that you can study in preparation of the actual Bible study itself, and you can download these online. I hope you did, and I hope you worked through it. And if you did, then you notice that I began with several questions as an introduction to Ecclesiastes. So let's run through those questions. Do you know what the word Ecclesiastes means? Well, it means the preacher. And you'll see the writer call himself the preacher in the book. Do you know who wrote it? Well, most believe that it was Solomon, king of Israel, the second son of David and Bathsheba. And do you know what type of writing it is? This is a little bit tough. It starts with a J. It's a journal. Did you get that one? A journal. It's Solomon keeping a journal of what he's going through at this point in his life. I keep a journal. I keep a prayer. Right now I'm keeping a prayer journal. I've kept other journals throughout my life, and I've recorded things that I was experiencing and the feelings that I was going through. And Solomon kept this journal, and we get to look into it. How cool is that? Do you know its subject? Well, its subject is the title of this Bible study, The Journey for Meaning. And in the book, you'll see that it's the book of man under the sun, and he's reasoning about life, trying to figure life out. Now, do you know the key word in the book? That should be pretty easy. It's used quite a bit. The key word is vanity. Vanity. Hey, let's look for that key word in these first three verses. Read with me. It says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanities of vanities, all is vanity. What profit has a man from all of his labor in which he toils under the sun? You kind of sense what he's feeling right now, and he's not feeling too good. How would you define that word vanity? Well, I want to give you my simple definition of it. It's this: that which is empty, without permanent value, that which leads to frustration. That's what vanity is. It's empty, it's frustrating, there's no lasting value in it. And it just, so many people are experiencing that feeling about life. I think about tennis star Boris Becker, who was at the very top of the tennis world, yet he was on the brink of suicide. Listen to his story in his very own words. Here's what he said. He said, I had won Wimbledon twice before, once as the youngest player. I was rich. I had all the material possessions I needed. It's the old song of movie stars and pop stars who commit suicide. They have everything, and yet they're so unhappy. I had no inner peace. I was a puppet on a string. Now listen, Becker's not the only one to feel that sense of emptiness. The echoes of a hollow life pervade our culture. One doesn't have to read many contemporary biographies to find the same frustration and disappointment. So many people are right there. I think about Jack Higgins, the author of such successful novels as The Eagle Has Landed. He was asked one time what he would like to have known as a boy. Listen to his answer. He said that when you get to the top, there's nothing there. Now that's vanity. That's hollow. That's empty. When you get to the top, there's nothing there. Here in chapter 1, Solomon's looking for answers by looking at different perspectives of life. And frankly, he doesn't like what he sees. First, he looks around. Let's read verses 4 through 7 together. It says, one generation passes away and another generation comes, but the earth abides forever. The sun also rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it arose. The wind goes towards the south and turns around to the north. The wind whirls about continually and comes again on its circuit. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place from which the rivers come, there they return again. So Solomon's looking around at nature. And here's what he says. He says, one generation passes, another one comes. The sun rises, the sun sets. The wind continually blows about. The rivers run into the sea, and yet the sea's never full. Solomon looked around, and all he could see was the monotony of life. When you look around, what do you see? Well, when we look around, based on these verses here, we see nature functioning as it has since creation. Nothing changes day by day, and that can be monotonous. It was for Solomon. And so then he doesn't find answers there. So then he decides to take a look back. What do you see when you look back? Look at verses 8 through 11. It says, "And all things are full of labor. Man cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there's nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come." Is there nothing new under the sun? Solomon was looking back retrospectively, and all he could see was disappointment that there was nothing new. Now, just as nature repeats itself, so does history. Maybe things are improved, but is anything really new? You say, well, what about the internet? That's new. Well, that's just communication improved, really, if you think about it. First, it was the spoken word, then it was the written word, then it was the printed word, and now it's the electronic word, but it's not new. Communication is not new. The course of life really doesn't change. I mean, when you look back at history, it's pretty much been the same since the beginning of time. So when Solomon looked back, he couldn't find any answers. So I ask you that question again. When you look back, what do you see? Well, you see history repeating itself, and you see that really there's nothing new. And so Solomon, then he decides to look within himself, introspectively. Let's read verses 12 through 18. It says, "I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I set my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of men by which they may be exercised." Do you see life as that? Just an exercise, like God just is taking us out for a walk, like we take our dogs out for a walk? Is life nothing more than that? That's how Solomon was feeling. Verse 14 says, "I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and indeed all is vanity and grasping for the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be numbered. I communed with my heart." Now here's where he's looking in. He says, I communed within my heart. I looked within my heart. He said, saying, "Look, I've attained greatness and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understanding, great wisdom, and knowledge. And I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is grasping for the wind. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow." Solomon looks introspectively into his heart and into his mind. He said what was in his heart to do was in reality just grasping for the wind. The knowledge of his mind, he said, only caused grief and sorrow. So we come to the end of this chapter 1, and we're leaving Solomon in a dilemma over life, a vanity of vanities. We leave him with the still unanswered question that we read in the beginning: what profit has a man from all of his labors in which he toils under the sun? Now let me ask you this: what about you? Have you ever been there? Have you ever been asking what's the use? Looking for knowledge, looking for answers to satisfy the dilemma of life? So, as we have worked through chapter 1, let me ask you this: what are your conclusions? What conclusions have you come to? Did you notice that Solomon doesn't mention God in this chapter? See, here's the conclusion that I come to: that when I'm looking for knowledge, when I'm seeking answers, when I want to understand, when I need the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding of life, I need to be sure to seek God's wisdom, and then I'll grow in knowledge. And if I don't seek God's wisdom to grow in knowledge, you know what happens? Knowledge will just make me cynical and critical. And that's what we hear in the voice of Solomon: someone who's become cynical, someone who's become critical of life. All he can say is it's vanity. Look, Solomon's looking for some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but he's looking in all the wrong places and only becoming more discouraged. If you really want wisdom and knowledge and understanding, listen to Proverbs 2:6. It says, "For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding." When we are seeking to understand our life, when we are seeking to have answers to this mundane existence, to this life of vanities, and we look around and we look back and we look within and we just can't find an answer, it's because we're looking in the wrong place. We need to look to the Lord, because the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. When you take everything and you hold it through the filter of who Christ is, it changes your answer. And Solomon was not including the Lord in this pursuit. And so we leave him in chapter 1 empty, searching, and feeling like life is in vain. So we're going to stop right there, and we'll jump back in next week, and I look forward to getting back into it. Listen, if you have any comments, just add them below this video, and would love to hear from you. Thank you. I know you have a busy schedule, and you've carved out the time to be with us through this Bible study. And I just want to encourage you to not miss a chapter, because it will just get better and better as we go along. And I believe that we're gonna really learn some good things together. So thank you for being with us. God bless you, and I hope you have a great week.